Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to call to order the Thursday, March 24th, 2022 Watertown City Plan Commission. Can I get a roll call?
Yes. Dolly.
Here.
Ford.
Here.
Aletsky.
Here.
Kays.
Here.
Dargis Johnson.
Here.
And Brink, Hanson, Spire, Culhane are absent. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Brandy. I'll move on to the next item on the agenda, invitation for public comment participant submittal. If you'd like to speak to the board on an item that's not on the agenda today, we'll have a spot at that for the end. I'll move on to item 4 on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. I'll need a motion.
I'd like to make the
second.
motion to approve the agenda.
I'm going to make a amendment to the agenda. Sorry. Just as, so 6A, or no, sorry, 6B for resolution number 2022-06. I'm going to just pull that up. And when we take action on this, it's only going to include a specific legal description instead of the entire area. I don't know why it brought me here. Sorry, guys. That didn't go as planned. Okay, so we're going to omit this area from this action item. And then that will be reflected in the resolution as, I'll show you here. We'll take out this legal description when you guys act on this resolution.
And that area, that is that drainage channel through there?
Yep, it's the access area, so it's city-owned property. And so, and I'll explain it in greater detail when we get to the item, but I just wanted to clarify that up front before we approve the agenda.
All right. Thank you, Brandy.
Yes, thank you.
I would like to make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Motion by Aletsky and a second by Dargis Johnson. Any additional comments on the agenda? Okay, we'll take a vote on the agenda.
All right, Dolly.
Yes.
Ford.
Yes.
Aletsky.
Yes.
Kays.
Yes.
Dargis Johnson.
Yes.
5 yes, 0 no. We'll approve the agenda. We'll move on to item 5 on the agenda, which is the approval of the minutes from the March 9th, 2022 meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second case.
Motion and a second. Any additional comments on those minutes? All right, we'll take a vote.
All right, Dargis Johnson.
Yes.
Kays.
Yes.
Aletsky.
Yes.
Ford.
Yes.
Dolly.
Yes. 5 yes, 0 no. Those minutes are approved. We'll move on to the regular agenda. Item 6A is commission consideration of resolution number 2022-13, amending the zoning district of Watertown from I2 to I1. Brandy, if you want to walk us through the details on that one.
Yes, thank you, Blake. So this property is located at 705 20th Avenue Southwest. I have it pulled up here. The owner is Grand Guard Construction, Inc. And if you guys recall, we looked at this property at the February 24th Board of Adjustment meeting for a portion of this area that is zoned I2 heavy industrial to allow for a caretaker's residence. And as a part of that approval, there was a condition that they rezone to I1 light industrial so that a caretaker's residence is a conditional use. So what they are proposing in that area was shown with the conditional use application, and I'll flip this. This will be the plat that will come forward at the next meeting. This is just an exhibit with the rezone, and then it'll time up together at City Council. So it will include 5.18 acres, or the 225,819 square feet, which does exceed the minimum square footage requirement for the I1 light industrial district, which is 30,000 square feet. And the comprehensive land use plan does support this would be industrial, as we discussed in great depth when talking about the caretaker's residence. And then also we have the industrial easement and waiver of setback from existing I-2 industrial uses, as the caretaker's residence is residential in nature, that the people that are utilizing this use understand the I-2 heavy industrial uses that are happening, that are existing currently and may exist in the future, that's not limiting them from utilizing their properties, and that they are moving forward with downzoning to I-1 light industrial. So with that, I'll open it up for any questions.
Thank you, Brandy. We do have a public hearing on this, so I'll open the public hearing now.
Mr. Chair, this is Kays. I mean, they're doing what we asked them to do 2 weeks ago. So I move that we can't move, but I support the rezoning.
4 weeks ago. The deadlines,
And Brandy, as a refresher to that meeting, the conditional use, did that just apply to the plat that's going to be coming forward, or is that the entire parcel being requested to rezone?
It was just for that hatched portion, and then what they are showing as what will be platted as Grand Guard Addition. So it's just this area.
Okay.
This is Ford.
Yes, Ms. Ford.
I have a question for Heath, if he's still there. I can't tell from here.
Yes, I am.
Okay, so if this is approved to move to an I-1, and it at some point in time then could become a site for cannabis cultivation, testing, and manufacturing, would this residence, the approval or the allowing this residence on that site come before this board again, or would it be grandfathered in?
The current way, I can answer that question if you don't know off the top.
Yeah, either Commissioner Kays or Brandy, I would actually defer to one of you, the planning experts.
The current ordinance states that you have to be 1,000 feet from a residence. It doesn't even include, even if I'm the operator, it has to be 1,000 feet. So if there's any piece of that property that's further than 1,000 feet from that specific residence, that portion could be, but I don't know if you're going to find that with this legal.
They would not. I mean, if it was within that radius, they couldn't have that use. It wouldn't be. They would not even be able to apply because we wouldn't be able to sign off on the zoning verification letter.
For the cannabis use?
Yes.
It breaks up a little bit when I'm on my phone. That's why I sometimes clarify what you're saying.
Oh,
So,
no problem.
okay. All right. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Any other questions? You still there, Blake?
Sorry, I was talking on mute. There's nobody there to speak in the public hearing while it's open, right?
No, nope.
We'll close the public hearing and then I'll look for commission action.
Kay's motion to approve as requested.
Oletsky, I second.
Any additional comments before we take a vote?
Well,
Okay.
Ford's concern about the safety of children in this area, plus the precedent of building apparently some sort of a three-bedroom house in an I-1 area, I just cannot wrap my arms around the precedent that we're setting.
It's my understanding that it's going to be like a shed house, so it's not going to look like your basic rambler or ranch.
Mr. Chair,
Appreciate the,
this is Kay's.
yep.
I look at it not so much that the house is being there, but it's a legitimate request to take something from I-1 or I-2 to I-1. And even if they didn't come in and ask for a house to be there, it's a legitimate request per our comprehensive land use plan for industrial development. So if they would have came in and did this first and changed it to I-1 and then came back in later to ask for a conditional use or what have you for the caretaker's residence, they just came in and they flipped the procedure. If they would have came in now and we weren't, if the house wasn't even part of the conversation, the issue of taking something from I-2 to I-1 is really a non-issue.
And it's good to, and you know, really the I-2, the I-1 and the I-2 are the same district. The I-2 allows for more intrusive conditional uses. But anything, they are the same other than what the conditional use offers for the I-2. And it is nice to see, because this is a sensitive area, that we would see a down zone from I-2 to I-1 with the lake and the wetlands nearby, so they don't even have the option to do those more impactful or intrusive uses.
This is Ford again. I certainly understand what you're saying, Todd. However, we have knowledge, and that's the bottom line. We have facts.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, but the issue is, we've acted as the Board of Adjustment. We made that as a condition. What's done is done, and so we're just taking the perfunctory step to move forward.
Yeah, that's correct. All right, we'll take a roll call vote on this item.
All right. Dargis Johnson. Kays.
Aye.
Alutsky.
Yes.
Ford.
No.
Dolly.
Yes. So we have 4 yes, 1 no. That motion passes. We'll move on to item 6B on the agenda, which is Commission Resolution number 2022-06 as amended.
All right. Thank you, Blake. So this project here is at the Montgomery's Furniture site, which is at 1009th Avenue Southeast. My map catches up with me here. I'll show you guys the area. Okay, so currently this, and the owner is Clark Sinclair. He is also here, that if you guys do have questions as we progress, he will be able to answer those. So he's the acting agent for Sinclair Land and Cattle LLC, the owner of the property. It is currently zoned C3 Highway Commercial District, and so they're proposing to rezone to PUD, Planned Unit Development. And now let me switch back and show you guys the plan for the area. And this also, as I amended the agenda prior to approval, you can see they do show plans, future plans for the area that is city-owned property. And those discussions will continue with City Council and the appropriate staff on that issue. But for today, we are just acting on the rezone to a PUD for the property owned by the Sinclairs. So what they're proposing here is a retail office buildings with lesser setbacks, and then a 50-foot right-of-way through that will connect 11th to Jensen or 10th Avenue. And the idea here is that they're wanting to do, maximize buildable space, reduce setbacks, and create a denser commercial development while creating that connectivity through the existing parking lot today, which will be a nice addition, I guess, for traffic connectivity with the intersection at 11th and Highway 212 at the light there, the stoplight. So specifically, I'll pull up the
Brandy,
differences
this is going
here.
to be a city street, right?
Yep, it will
Okay.
be dedicated public right-of-way. And then they will, they'll do all the public improvements and then turn that over for acceptance by the city. So specifically, and then we can get into questions, is the setbacks. So they are asking for perimeter setbacks adjacent to the right-of-ways to be 10 feet. 25 feet for the Clearview Triangle shall be maintained at all access points. Perimeter setbacks adjacent to neighboring properties is 20 foot. And to kind of relate this to the C3, that is, the 20 foot is the same as a side yard setback. So, and then the interior setbacks within the PUD to be 0 feet when it's not abutting another property not under the same ownership. That is so they can have shared parking agreements and not have to go, they won't do the condo platting because it will stay under their ownership. But then they can have just a little flexibility with creating a little commercial hub in that area. And then just to specify, the proposed retail and office buildings will have the uniform appearance. They will have, with the 50-foot right-of-way being narrower than our engineering design standard, they will still create a street. They will install a street that does meet design standards so that we do still have sufficient traffic control and flow. But there will be signage for no parking on both sides. So then, and there will be boulevards that will differentiate between parking lot and street, and also be able to allow for snow storage. And then that'll be the access control like a typical commercial area. With that, I think I'll open it up for questions, and I'll pull up that
Could you pull
proposal.
up the site plan? So, I'll wait for it to come into view.
Yeah, everything's a little slow.
So the old Sears building on the corner there, they still have access for backing and loading. There was an easement at one time recorded, right, on that
Yep.
property, that's still maintained?
Yep, and so this is just the zoning portion, and that will be maintained when the plat comes forward.
But when we adopt a PUD as the planning commission, we're recommending looking at what the way the layout is, the street layout. We're approving basically the conceptual layout of the lots when you do a PUD, right?
Yeah, but we can't, the PUD doesn't erase existing easements.
No, I was just confirming that was the point I was trying to make. And then the only question that I had is, what is the distance between the edge of 212 on the south side to that first other intersection in there? I mean, from a stacking cars standpoint, is that going to be an issue moving in and out? Should there be some sort of traffic calming device in the middle there so that we're not having people just kitty corner across it? It seems to me the geometry of that intersection is a little wonky.
And Heath, do you want to speak to that?
I believe that the Assistant City Engineer, Justin Peterson, had checked that off as far as meeting the minimum design criteria for a driveway setback from the intersection of another roadway. And I believe it met those minimum criteria, if I remember right, Brandy.
Yep.
So
And
that's just a
considering-
driveway to the back of the building?
Correct.
Okay.
And that's considering a stoplight controlled intersection?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and that is something too, when we get the construction plans, that can be adjusted if there are issues. But that was something that was brought up right away by the design review team, that we looked at that and we confirmed that it met. So it has to be, I believe, 140 feet back.
Yeah, it just seems like if you're coming in all at the same time right there, from somebody's coming from the north, somebody's coming south, and it's not a controlled intersection per se, and it's less than a half a block away from a major feeder in there. It just seems to be that it might meet standards, but it just looks a little tight.
Yeah, and you wouldn't want, we wouldn't want the stacking for, a left turn or whatnot to deter people from really utilizing this as well. And that's where the calculation in the design standards takes that into
Is
consideration.
there a turn lane that's going to be there?
We can look at that. We'll look at those details. The engineering division will review that.
It just looks tight is all. I mean, and we want to make sure that everything from an access, this is going to be a very major commercial center. You're talking about a lot of traffic, which is all really good for Montgomery's and it's good for the city and everything that happened there. And I'm not talking down, but we missed the boat on 31st Street on the Aldi's and the Hobby Lobby intersection there. And it might have met minimum design standards. I don't know if it did or if it didn't, but that's a terrible, terrible intersection on 31st. And so I just want to make sure as we're moving forward that that's not replicated.
Yes, definitely, and we did what we could to fix it. It was sin of the past.
Yeah,
So we don't want to see that going forward.
So my question is, so 11th Street that is existing right now that doesn't connect anywhere, you know, on the east side of Sears? Is that, no, the street on the east side of the Sears building?
Oh, okay, yep.
That is a street, that is a city street?
It's not, it's city property. It's not right of way, but it's really for maintenance of the creek, of that gravel. So that's going to be the detour route for the Highway 212 project.
Okay, but people will drive on it now because it will be paved up to it, correct? I mean, if I want to go that way, I can go that way.
For the detour.
Yeah, so I think there might be a two-part answer to this. So as it sits today, currently, it is just a maintenance gravel road that the city utilizes. I'm sure some of the business owners out there utilize it too, but there's no through connectivity, obviously, to Highway 212. It does, I think, connect out into the Sinclair's parking lot to the north there. What it will look like here for a temporary snapshot in time is the DOT has an agreement with the city to utilize that property to run one of their Highway 212 detours through. So they will be putting pavement down to take that traffic off of 212 and route it around as necessary for their detour route. Once that phase of their project is over and that detour route's no longer utilized, a portion of that pavement, if not all of it, will end up coming out of there and returning it back to, restoring it to its original condition. Portions of the pavement may remain depending on how the streets, how the city departments land on what we want left there for maintenance of the sewer trunk line and the drainage ditch. Parts of that pavement might come out, likely will come out, pending future discussions that the developer will be having with the city on utilizing portions of that land.
Okay, because that plan isn't in our papers here. At least it isn't, I don't think. So I guess I'm confused where the 50-foot street is then. So is it going right down the center, or does it go to the east and then down?
It'll run
Right there.
directly south from the 11th Street intersection as it tees into 212 now.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, these were printed, zoomed in. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. So we're going to have 0 setbacks around the buildings for parking. So basically you'll have a sidewalk around the outside of your building and parking up to it. Is that what we're looking at, kind of? Kind of like Sherwin-Williams out there, if you will. It's the building's plopped and then you can park all the way around it.
Yeah. But for the right-of-way, though, they can't encroach within that. And so that the street will be 41 feet wide, and then they'll have, 4.5-foot boulevards on each side that they can't encroach within. So then that will create the buffer between parking and street. Yep. And the sidewalks will go on the private property.
And how much on the north end of that parking lot then, on the north side of the existing Montgomery building, we have a nice little green buffer there. And I see we are making that narrower there, if I'm looking at that correctly. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. We're even losing more, Todd. That's what I'm saying. There's not a lot of green space there between 212 and.
Well, and the thing about the landscape ordinance would still apply, but how that is today is that there has to be 5 foot of buffer between a parking lot and the right of way. So, and that would be for green space. So they do have to retain 5 in a new project like this. Obviously, we don't want to see we don't want to lose green space, but we have to keep it consistent with, everyone has to have the 5-foot buffer. So if you see the properties that have it all paved up to the highway, if they were going to redevelop, we would make them put in that 5-foot buffer strip.
So this is gonna have that 5-foot buffer there. It just doesn't look like it is. And maybe like,
And there's 5-foot buffers along all parts of the streets and those islands, those kickouts. There's gonna be grass in there.
Yeah, or landscaping, if, for the internal buffers, for the right of way, that has to be grass. Yeah, you shouldn't even put trees.
right, but you see where I'm saying, on the north side, that's gonna be 5
Yeah.
feet right there.
Yep.
Okay. Again, I don't, and like I said, I can't even remember names today, so.
No, and I think the reason I think it looks like that, Rhonda, is because today, I think it's just a lot going on in that
Yeah,
picture.
it is, yeah, and like you said, the street's gonna get widened, so we got all sorts of stuff going on there. And I know you guys will do that when he comes with the actual layout. I'm just on record again stating it, so.
Yes. Perfect.
So if you wanna go back down again, I got a few more.
Sounds good. And I didn't mean to make the picture go away. Okay. But yes, thank you for noting that, Rhonda, because that is something that's important for aesthetics, that we don't want to lose that there along the highway or any right of way for that.
Okay. And I guess my only other comment will be, so if the owner of the Sears building has that little odd shaped triangular patch in the back, he would have to come for a variance to get the same right to the 0 setback on a building if he so chose to set one back there?
Yeah.
Because you could put something funky back there, I suppose.
Yep. Yep. Because he'll remain C3 highway commercial. So say that he
It's not, yeah.
likes what is being done here, and with it being adjacent, that could be something that he could propose to rezone as well. And then that could be looked at independently.
Do we have a minimum requirement for acreage for PUD zoning?
Yep, for the zoning, you need 5 acres.
So what he's saying, Todd, he wouldn't be able to put another building back there?
Well, but the entire district would be, the lots just have to meet the minimum.
No, I'm talking about the Sears property. If he wanted to rezone to PUD, would he be able to? Because otherwise you're talking about setting it up for a variance to do something, and again, the basis for the variance would be difficult. It's a sidebar, and I don't want to go down that.
Exactly,
I don't want to
I
go
know.
down that.
I'm
rabbit
d-
hole.
but
Actually,
I'm just-
you're
yeah,
right.
I drug you there.
You
Whether you want
are,
to go or not.
so yeah, you need a minimum,
That's right, you're going.
you need a minimum of 5 acres, so he would not, no, because otherwise there isn't a lot of room for the flexibility
Yeah,
to.
so he doesn't.
propose
You would have to grant a variance, and what would be the basis for granting the variance in that situation? So there probably won't be anything there.
Yes, yeah, yep.
Okay, and then my final question. The east, you see, you have 2 streets coming onto Jensen Avenue, I assume, or whatever that, but yeah, so right the east one.
Okay.
So that's not gonna have curb and gutter on the east because that's not his property? So that'll just be a ditch like it is now, unimproved?
They would need to. They just I don't know why that level of detail was missed on this drawing,
Detail, girl. Okay.
but they would need to, yeah. Thank you for, I don't know, Colin.
Randy or Heath, I got a question in relation to downsizing the street there. Oh, Colin, sorry, I couldn't see you, so you can
No,
address that
that's
question.
fine. I'm Colin with Austin. We left the curb and gutter off the east side of that street because that's where the access easement is for the Sears property. So they're going to have truck traffic that's going to be utilizing that. So, not on the east property line there, because that would inhibit them to get to their loading dock.
Right, and it's a driveway, it's not a street. So that is another point of clarification where it's, so this is going to connect to this property, so they don't, if it's not a city street, they don't have to install the curb and gutter if it's parking lot.
Part of that easement that we were talking about, or that Sears has onto that.
Right, yep.
So it's the access easement through the parking lot.
Right, yeah, they have a 30-foot wide access easement along that property line.
Or was that for that building? Because, I mean, they do have access.
Right, but I think it was so they could share that driveway in that location, and also, you know, utilize their loading dock there. So.
But that might, because then this looks like it's private property, so that easement might have to be re-solidified with the plat, if that's an issue.
Right, I think at this point we're just planning around that easement, so they can still use it.
Are they gonna be able to get a semi in there the way you have that configured to back in there?
I figured they could utilize the drive-through lane that we have north of the building.
That one?
Right, and then, you know, back into the loading dock.
And
So it is essentially remain blacktop through that whole area outlined.
Correct.
so they have to keep that open. There is also, you know, things that the private property, that easement will not go away, but the private property owner could also create ways of maneuvering in there on their property.
Is that's a private right now, right, for snow removal?
I guess I'm
This
not sure.
property.
Well, yeah, his lot, but then that street that he's used, I guess I'm calling it a
Yeah.
street, but yeah, I'm just, you know, I'd like to make problems. So I'm just asking, you know.
Well, I think the easement, that's the Sinclair's responsibility, you know, to do the snow removal. The Sears building just has the right to
Use it.
use it as
Okay,
traffic flow, so.
You can see their property line there.
exactly,
so that-
yeah.
Yeah, and what the details of that access easement, you know, when they put it in place, how they worked out that, the private deal, but good points, and definitely something that we want. It'll be reserved with this PUD and then with the plat, and that'll come forward back to you guys as well for approval, so.
Okay.
Clark, you're basically wanting to do something similar that you're doing in Madison in that layout there, where you've got some those other alternate uses that around the store down there.
Right, this is our first experience.
Just swap you guys out.
Sorry. If you've been to Madison, you can see what Montgomery's is down there. It looks really nice what they're doing down there with the mixed development that they're doing, and you're doing just something similar here.
Yeah, correct. I'm Clark Sinclair, and we are been working on this little project here for 10 years since we came to town. It's evolved, and it's complicated, so I appreciate your opportunity here for us to visit about this. But 4 different mayors through that 10 years, and we've had a lot of different opinions about what we should do or shouldn't do, or what the city would like to do. It's been a great discussion because I've changed my mind about 6 times about what I envision this to be. And when we bought that Econo Foods building, I never thought once about the value of that parking lot or the opportunities that we'd have with it. But as we've started doing business here, it was pretty evident. So we bought that Quonset building, and I never heard PUD mentioned ever. And so when our developer Eric Scott and Colin and Brandy and Heath and your team started getting involved in these discussions, which we have had for 10 years, but we got to the point where everybody seems to think that the PUD is the win-win for everybody. And at one time, the first mayor thought that we would have a city street that they would pay for. Second mayor wasn't sure. The third mayor was, no, we don't have any money, so we're not going to build a street for you. So it's been an interesting conversation, but I think the result has been that we're at a point today where this can be really a good thing for everybody. And your staff has been really great to work with and patient through this whole process. So never realized how complicated something could be. It really is complicated. And we're taking the time to really work through all of this. I wish it wasn't 10 years, but I think what we have today, and a lot of it is that three-way intersection becoming a four-way intersection. And that was driven a lot by the State Highway Department wanting that to happen. So I think the patience that we've had to work through this resulting in something that will be really good for everybody. And we want to be good neighbors, whether it's with the Sears building or with the city property or whatever. So as we've continued to discuss this, it's gotten more complicated. But I think the result will be, at one time I had made in my mind that we were not going to build a city street through the middle of our parking lot because it took up too much space. But I really believe that the plan that we're working on and have worked on diligently is going to be really a good thing. And we're very open. We want to be good neighbors. And if you know about us and the communities that we're in, we have beautiful properties, and we have a lot of respect for our neighbors. And I think I'm really excited about getting this. There's still a lot of work to be done. The first phase one of this we have under contract, so that'll be getting started soon, as soon as we can get all the approvals. Second phase will be that one where that Quonset building was at, and have been in really good discussions with possible tenant for that property. We want to own all of this ourselves and develop it ourselves, so it's consistent in how it fits together with the looks of our building and complementary to it, and a real nice modern type of look. So we want it to be beautiful. You talk about green space or landscaping. I can guarantee you we'll spend a lot of money to make it look really nice. So
It's a great time to do it with them widening Highway 212 and stuff. It'll just flow right in with it. I think
yeah,
it's
that's kind of what we've
deal.
been waiting for, is for that. That's kind of the whole thing is kind of gelled together now with the right partners in this. Everybody seems to have a feeling that this is the right thing to do. My son's involved in it. Eric Scott is our developer. He's contributed a lot to how this thing has kind of fleshed out. So,
Chair Liaison Tupper, I got a question for Mr. Sinclair.
Yes, sir.
Clark, when this is all complete and everything, will your main entrance that you have right now, will that go away?
Yes, that main entrance there, an agreement with the state was that we would narrow that when we added the second entrance to the front of our building. So it's really only an entrance. Mm-hmm. So our agreement with the state is that we can use that until we get the four-way stop built and dumping everything into our parking lot. So, yeah, we'll be able to use that. But they want that closed because it really is a mess with people coming out trying to get across that backup, where they call stacking or whatever you call that, Heath. But it's been really a mess, and so the city and the state have wanted to get rid of that, and so this will accomplish that too.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I do have a question, Brandy, from a road planning standpoint. So dumping the major collector 11th Street down into the smaller right-of-way with some of the justification on that being the long-term development of the area south of 212 and the limited capacity that we see in the land use plan, is that part of the justification?
And actually, if I can give this one to Heath.
Yeah, thank you, Brandy. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, there's not a logical extension of 11th further south than Jensen Avenue, so you're exactly right. That's one of the points of logic used there on why a narrower roadway section could be fitting for this development. It helps to accommodate the PUD that's trying to be accomplished. The hard stop as you go further south, of course, is the wastewater treatment plant, and that's not going anywhere in the next 100 years. So, your point is exactly right, and one of the talking points on why that was considered.
Thank you. Was there anybody else to speak in the public while we have the public hearing open?
No, doesn't appear so.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Sinclair. I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Do you have any motion by the board on this action?
I would like to make a motion to approve Resolution 2022-06 with the legal description change.
Yep, to just include this Sinclair property. As shown here, I will remove the highlighted legal description.
As Brandy just stated.
Do you have a second on that motion?
Second.
Any additional discussion on this before we take a vote? All right, we'll take a roll call vote.
All right, Dolly,
Yes?
Ford,
Yes.
Oletsky,
Yes.
Kays,
Yep.
Dargis Johnson.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item 7 is the open public comments. I don't believe we had anybody sign up to speak in the public forum here.
No, you are
So we'll
correct.
move on to new business.
None that I have.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I would just make a note. I did forward an email to the entire planning commission here. I think it was late last week, just formally announcing that I'd appointed as the interim community development manager Jason Spurgeon. He's our building official. He's got a good breadth of municipal experience before he came out of the city of Watertown, and again in the interim here until we get the community development manager position filled, I felt he'd do a great job at helping keeping the dots connected and keeping things afloat. Of course, that doesn't go without saying that Brandy is a tremendous help in that as well. So, but they both are working together closely with me, and I just wanted to make that announcement to let the board know that we're doing everything we can, all hands on deck, to keep the gaps filled and keep the cases moving forward as efficiently as we can.
Yeah, I appreciate the heads up on that and definitely appreciate the work of the staff for sure.
Yes, thank you.
That position, by the way, was just posted, I believe, Monday evening. So it's out there advertised. If you have anybody you know of interest in that, please feel free to send them our way.
Sounds good. Any other new business from staff or the board? Any old business?
None that I have.
Any reason for executive session?
No.
All right, then it's time for adjournment, and I'll adjourn us.